Well, good afternoon and a big Jai Hind to young Indians. Let me thank you first to invite me to speak on an occasion like this. And I must also point out, it is, well, Shauryaveer and Ridhima's passion that has kind of pushed me to come up on stage and share with you our experience of counterinsurgency and counterterrorism. You just heard the cricketers knocking balls. I would be talking about conflict knocking terrorists. Trust me, not so much of violence in the talk. 20 minutes, I have to cover a lot of ground, so let me proceed. Are we getting the slides on the side? Yep. Yeah, that's better. See, as a nation, we have faced insurgency followed by terror virtually since our independence. If you look at the 6 states highlighted on our map, Indian Army has been involved in counterinsurgency and counterterrorism in all these 6 states. So a very obvious question should be, how far has our framework worked? Well, honestly, I would submit, in the case of Punjab and Mizoram, we have succeeded in full measure. When it comes to Assam, Nagaland, Manipur, and J&K, by all means, the insurgency or terror is suppressed. There is a semblance of order. And yes, the political resolution is at different stages. In 1947, quite coincidentally, the Independence Day of Pakistan, the Naga National Conference leader, Fizo, he had declared independence. Somehow it did not get the kind of attention that it should have got. So 9 years later, when he did so once again, proclaiming independence, Indian Army was called out for the first time in counterinsurgency operations. Of course, Fizo fled from the scene. In fact, he was smuggled out in a coffin to East Pakistan. Bangladesh used to be East Pakistan earlier, as you know. And quite clearly, that's how Pakistan got an opportunity which it just grabbed. In the meanwhile, the other Naga leaders, they traveled to China to secure diplomatic and armed support. And you can see that picture in the background of the China Wall, Great China Wall. Around the same time, in Mizoram, people exasperated by the government of Assam's dealing with the famine that was there in 1959, they formed a Mizo-famine front, essentially to provide relief and rescue under the circumstances. Their leader, Lal Denga over there, he saw political potential in this, and what he did was rechristened the MFF as MN, N for National, Mizo National Front, and he proclaimed independence as his goal. On 28 February 1966, young rebels of the MNF, they overran that beautiful town of Aizawl, now the capital. So once again, the army was called in. Most of the fighters, they fled into East Pakistan again, and the leadership also went across to China, seeking support of Chou Enlai and others. So if you notice, in both the instances, Nagaland and Mizoram, quite clearly, Pakistan and China, they saw this classic Sun Tzu opportunity of winning without fighting by drawing India into what we call a proxy war. The East Pakistan chapter ended with the liberation of Bangladesh. In fact, Lal Denga managed to escape just in time into Myanmar, from where he was picked up and taken to Islamabad. And on the Chinese side, when the External Affairs Minister Vajpayee visited China, he was assured that they would stop all armed support. Well, if you were to pause for a while, If you see, it's almost a given sequence of events where there is an armed rebellion, the situation goes out of control, army is called in, the leaders flee, leaving the population floundering. And the leaders themselves become tools of proxy war of our adversaries. So under these circumstances, I think the most key takeaway for the army was the importance of not alienating the people. If you go forward to Assam, ULFA, the United Liberation Front of Assam, was declared a secessionist terrorist organization and banned. Situation had gone out of control, almost a repeat. Army was called in, the ULFA withdrew, a semblance of order seems to have been restored. By April of 91, the government ordered elections and asked the army to disengage. The ULFA used this time to regroup, and just as the new government was sworn in on 1st July 91, they hit back at Assam's oil fields with some high-profile killings, kidnapping for ransom, and so on. So once again, on 15 September 91, the army was called in. And just as they came in, quite similarly, Paresh Barua, the leader sitting in the center of that picture, he along with his publicity secretary, Sunil Nath, they fled to Islamabad, where they were guests of the ISI. This quick engagement and disengagement taught us that counterinsurgency is a long-term investment. Protracted by nature, requires firm political will and substantial patience at the highest level to see the efforts turn into effects, and at the lower level also in dealing with people. As far as we were concerned, to quote the Corps commander who was there in Assam in those days, he says there are three spaces in society: the political space for the government and the political parties to function, the public space for the people to go about their lives normally, and the military space to enable the other two spaces to be able to function. In the meanwhile, Mizoram gets resolved with the signing of the Mizoram Accord and Laldenga becoming the chief minister. And what do we notice? The proxy war shifts to the west, to Punjab. And here is a quote by the then Director General of Police in Punjab, KPS Gill. It's there for you to read. The point that I wish to highlight, it is this manipulation which was exploited by Pakistan to stir that insurrection in Punjab. And the second point is, as we moved from east to this side, we find religion entering the discourse, making it so much more complicated. For the army, it was a very different experience. From the hills and the jungles of northeast, it was wide open plains of Punjab. From remote rural kind of a setting to a well-connected and well-to-do setting. So quite clearly, the complexities were so much different. Army succeeded in providing a sense of security, particularly by night, because the police were reluctant to work out at night. And of course, just as the situation started to get all right, Army decided to step back, facilitate the state police to take the lead. Coming to Jammu and Kashmir, we are all aware of Pakistan's obsession for this. Failed attempts of 47, 48, 1965, the defeat in 1971 war, and then finally in 1977, Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front is formed under Amanullah Khan based in Pakistan. In 1989, when bulk of our youngsters from Kashmir went across for training to Pakistan under the ISI, most of it happened under the aegis of JKLF. But very soon, ISI started having doubts on what the intentions of JKLF were. So what they did, they propped up a whole lot of other groups who were pro-Pakistan and Islamic jihadis. To that, they added a good measure of Afghan war fighting veterans. So that made the whole situation so much more bloody. In guerrilla warfare, it's typical, live to fight another day. But this is the time when we found martyrdom or shahadat coming into the entire ball game. Well, having seen this, let me quickly go over some of the basic principles on which our framework stands. These are there for you to read. Let me talk about calibrated use of force. Unlike the Americans or the NATO, for example, in Afghanistan, where use of unlimited force was almost legitimized, or for that matter, when you see Pakistan carrying out similar operations on their western side, they use artillery, they use air attack helicopters and everything. You will never see that happening in our context. They displace a whole lot of people in order to carry out operations. You will never see it happening in India. Because at the essence for us is the lessons that we have learned, and we make the whole operations very, very population-centric. 2014, we decided to review our strategy in Kashmir. Until then, the center of gravity would be the population. But we realized that given the multiple perspectives and indeed conflicting perspectives, it is very difficult to focus, have a center of gravity which is so divided. So then we chose to go in for the idea of militancy as the center of gravity. So which required reducing the number of militants. This is obviously the kinetic component or the hard component, which meant counter-infiltration operations, as Shauryaveer was explaining, 24/7, 365, eyeball to eyeball contact with your enemy at altitudes going up to around 15,000, 16,000 feet, rain, snow, fog, low clouds, immaterial, and adding complexity is the desperate attempts by the terrorists and their handlers to try and infiltrate. And believe me, they are innovating all the time. In the hinterland, in the Kashmir Valley, so to say, is what we call synergized, meaning all security forces put together, some very precise counter-terrorist operations. Coming to the non-kinetic or the soft power side, which I think is important, indeed more important, to minimize the sense of militancy in the environment. And that happens through sadbhavna or civic actions, and of course information operations. And I must highlight the fact that this is the part, if you ask me, which requires a higher degree of perception, a lot of patience and commitment. It requires a lot of willingness to engage, accommodate, and innovate. In Kashmir, unfortunately, over the years, bravery has got linked with violence, and that has become iconic. Now, what do we do about it? As an alternative, the answer is to create opportunities, and for that, the mantra that we followed was the 4 E's: engagement, education, empowerment, and employment. Many of you whom I have known separately have asked me this question: how can we pitch in? Let me take you through some slides, and I'm sure you will get ideas on how to contribute to this, creating the alternative. Engagement in sports activities, as you would notice, is very popular. It's just a question of providing the opportunities. If you look at the number of teams, we chose to have it at the district level so that there is maximum participation. And at the end of the day, the idea was simple: to give a creative dimension to courage. There is phenomenal talent waiting over there to be tapped. If you look at the picture, the top left one, these are 2 young girls, Razia and Aruja, class 6 standard girls. Believe me, they conducted this event of an hour plus without referring to any notes, speaking in English, Urdu, Hindi, or mix, and it's simply brilliant. You have to see these girls to see what they are made of. And you can, of course, see the breakdowns in a rural area in Kashmir at the bottom left. And bottom right, you can see Mr. Mir Ranjan Negi, on whom the story of Chak De was built, Shah Rukh Khan's Chak De. And here, besides talking to these youngsters about sports, he is leading them in a dance on Chak De India. We run 30 Goodwill schools. They are, of course, a class as far as infrastructure is concerned, and of course, they boast of very good results. Engaging the ideological bastions in any manner, like some positive activities like seminars, stuff like Kashmir Super 30 and so on, it really works well. And any education and employment opportunities, if you see the pictures over there, we would take very, very focused tours to Pune, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and so on. You can see the picture over there, young college students from Kashmir going to Indore, engaging with IIT, exchanging ideas with IIM and the Military College of Telecommunication and Engineering there. The picture down below is still interesting, if I can quickly recall that one. A bunch of youngsters from a rather difficult area called Tral were sent to Hyderabad. The first person that they met was the director of Amazon, and he told these guys that, look, if you are good in academics, wait until tomorrow, because tomorrow you people are going to the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. If you are good in sports, wait until day after tomorrow, because you're going to the football academy anyway. And if you're good looking, ready to learn some English, happy to do hospitality, wait for the day after that. You're going to Taj Falaknuma, they will pick you up. And if you are none of the three, if you have a mobile in your pocket, pull it out. And what did he do? He told them exactly how to create a little app and start something on their own. So when these youngsters would come back, typically, of course, I would meet them, and believe me, they come back absolutely transformed. Thank you. I really appreciate that acknowledgement. This is a picture of a recruitment rally in Kashmir. 20,000 people applying for 55 posts in the army. Clearly unthinkable some years back. Look at the sea of humanity telling us that give us opportunity. And of course, at the end of the day, the idea is national integration, and you can see the highest levels of our leadership engaging with youngsters, and this is a very, very frequent occurrence. And the more opportunities like this from leaders in any field, quite clearly, this is what we are looking up to. And if you permit me, what does it all achieve? To show you just a 2-minute clip. Yep.
Revival of warm, cordial, cooperative relationship between common people of Kashmir and country's armed forces signifies and signals the immense turnaround in the ground situation. The Jawan in uniform has been there to rescue, to provide relief, and to share the loss and grief. Year 2014 and 15 brought immense transformation in the perspective the Kashmiri Awam looked at army.
They have proved they are actual security forces for the human being. इन्होंने human being का मतलब वो honor रखा, respect रखा, लाज रखा.
बहक ने सो ज़बाने इन्हें आर्मी वालन खतर यूता मदद कोरे मो मिनस खानदारस तारनस मज. मैं उस मौसम आया बग्या कर है ये दिखतर. मैं बस तीत करने में पानी दो इतना मैं आर्मी अफसरों को.
जब हमारा जीबी पर इनंडेट हो गया तो इमीडिएटली सबसे पहले वहाँ पे हमारा एडजेसेंट बेस हॉस्पिटल है आर्मी का. They came to our rescue. उन्होंने हमारे पेशेंट्स वहाँ immediately ले लिए.
The change that Kashmir is going through is being reflected equally, strongly by the polity and media.
मेरी तरफ से तो सबको यही आवाम को ये रिक्वेस्ट है कि आर्मी को गलत तरीके से ना ले. ये लोग हमारे लिए कुछ गलत नहीं सोच रहे, ये हमारे लिए बिल्कुल सही सोच रहे हैं. अब ये पेरेंट्स की सोच पे डिपेंड करता है कि वो लोग इसको किस तरीके से लेंगे.
जो हमारे ड्रीम्स थे, जो हमने चाहा था, जो हमारे एम थे, वो कहीं ना कहीं आर्मी के थ्रू पूरे होने जा रहे हैं आज.
Being a native of Kashmir, I want to make it clear to every individual. मैं हर एक के दिमाग में ये डालना चाहती हूँ एक आर्मी ऑफिसर बनके कि आर्मी किसी का बुरा नहीं चाहती है.
यहाँ तक तो फौज का ताल्लुक है, ये तो कमेंडेबल है कि उनका सोशल सेक्टर जो है पिछले कई सालों से अच्छा उजागर हुआ है कि ये लोग अपना एक्सटेंड कर रहे हैं देयर वर्क टू सोशल सेक्टर.
उन्होंने कहा जनाब हम ये ऑपरेशन फलाह लॉन्च करना चाहते हैं. उन्होंने मेरे सामने नक्शा खोला और कहा कि ये इतने स्क्वायर किलोमीटर है और इतने दिनों के अंदर अंदर हम इस इलाके को साफ करेंगे। मैं तहे दिल शुक्रगुजार हूँ इन तमाम अफसरों का, जवानों का, इन कुत्तों का, जिनके बिना शायद ये मुमकिन नहीं होता।
Thank you. Very quick analysis of the way we go. The strengths, of course, since we have chosen to go for the idea, and at the end of the day, it is all a battle of ideas and the minds, it is helping us to get better focus. As you would notice, as compared to other models being tried in different parts of the world, our approach is much more reconciliatory. It allows multiple lines, both kinetic and non-kinetic, to happen together. It allows multiple agencies to function together. Albeit there are weaknesses, it is prolonged, it tends to be resource intensive. And in the process, there is degeneration, which happens into crime and other issues like drug abuse and so on. And of course, there is this dilemma of disengagement. If you disengage, situation tends to slide. If you continue, quite clearly, after a while, maintaining mission orientation becomes a challenge. And I put operating on the edge over there because just as the number of militants reduce, the expectation for peace dividend comes into conflict with the requirements of sustaining the security. And that is the time vested interests try to stigmatize the actions of the security forces, and clearly they are looking for any trigger, any opportunity to exploit. So, well, we have to operate balancing these two. Under opportunities and threat, if you notice, I have put down rehabilitation of former militants and the political process across both, because if it is handled well, it's an opportunity. If not, it can very well go the other way. The biggest opportunity, of course, is integration, and the threat in our case, because of this intense, passionate external involvement, that will always be a threat for us. So that said, let me close by showing you this picture of the war memorial in Bibi Badami Bagh cantonment in Srinagar. The black granite walls behind have almost 4,581 names of people who have laid down their lives for binding and building this nation. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Jai Hind.
May we have the lights on? Thank you, General Saha. Your words mean much to us. May we open the floor to a few questions, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, if you have a question, please put your hands up. You just point them out, sir, and I'll walk up to them. And I will hand them the mic. Could you kindly pick out the people, and I will walk up to them.
Oh, yeah, sure. I can see 4 or 5 hands there. Anybody can come, please. Yeah.
Hi. Hello. Sir, it was a lovely presentation, and I mean, absolutely fabulous with the kind of work you've been doing. I have 2 questions. In Manipur, IROM has been fighting a long battle for the last, I think, 15 years, and it's still on, against, I mean, the fact that we must remove the Armed Forces Special Act. What would be your stand on that? And second thing, the army, I think, helps develop discipline. And with a country with a lot of young, we are pretty much 50% under 30.
Madam, if you don't mind me cutting you off, could you go directly to the question, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So I mean, I don't know, it's a suggestion. Do you think if making mandate, I mean, joining the army for a year or 2 would make a difference to people's personality and, you know, I mean, and help in the growth of the country?
Thank you. Your first question regarding the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Well, to be honest, there is a situation and there is an enabling provision. So quite clearly, it's an enabling provision provided by the Constitution of our country. It is enacted by the highest body of legislature of the country. For any given situation, there will be a professional view on the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, and understandably, there will be a political view as well. So as long as the government, which is responsible to take this call, factors the professional and the political, I think we are on the right path. And the second suggestion regarding all young Indians coming to the armed forces, from my side, what could be better than that? Thank you.
Good noon, sir. My name is Saurabh Sharma. I belong to Bhopal. Question is slightly complicated. It's been shown in movies that India-Pakistan war through Kashmir has become a business. How true is that?
The principles of war and business are not too different. So that is why, Sun Tzu's On War, if you have read that, is being taught in all B schools in India. I know for a fact it is being taught in all the good B schools of the US. It is read by every Indian Army, US Army, and all the professional armies. And it is also found from the Al-Qaeda's bunker after it is captured. So if there is so much common between business and war, at the end of the day, it's about staying ahead in your conflict or competition, use it whichever way you want. So if something is being synonymized, I won't try and dissect and try to see too much meaning in that. I would say that yes, one is in the business of warfare and the other one is in the business of business. Next, please.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Neera from Bhopal. Sir, my question is India is 60% more of the Indian population is youth, and these youths are beneath the age of 35. They have a image, like from past 35 years, we have an image. As soon as we think about Kashmir, we think about militancy, wars, guns, and everything. How can we change that perspective? How can we love our Kashmir back? We want it back.
See, what a brilliant and what a relevant question. If you saw that 2 minutes clip, did you get that sense anywhere? See, unfortunately, while the narrative that you talk about is there, equally there is this the other narrative as well. And it is up to us to pick up one of the two and proceed ahead. Believe you me, if we are looking for a bright future, if you are looking for an integrated future, if you are genuinely concerned for the people there who are like, as you have seen, anywhere else, it's obviously this narrative that I tell you, in which we must have faith, into which we must contribute. Thanks.
So we have time for 3 questions. We're going to do one here, the second there, and the third all the way at the back. I apologize to the rest of you all. I really apologize. I'm very sorry.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Prasad Patil from Mumbai. Captain Raghu Raman just tweeted in the morning saying that said peace battles will be replaced by irregular war. And civilians are no longer collateral damage. They are intended targets. How does this kind of affect the process that you've just stated in the presentations?
Yeah, thank you for recalling Raghu. Raghu and I have served on the glacier, Siachen Glacier together. We were both together in a UN mission in Angola. So I know this guy very well. Well, he's right. The distinction between conventional war and irregular war is, what I spoke to you today is clearly about irregular war. And as you're seeing the way situation is evolving, especially after the last conflict that was there in which Saddam Hussein got overthrown, after that, across the world, all that we are seeing is irregular warfare. So that observation of Raghu I endorse, and I say that entirely. And second thing, if you say is that civilians are going to be internet targets, well, I would submit that, why civilians? Anybody who is a user of the internet, and all of us are certainly potential targets. And how we safeguard and put those rings around us is for us to see. And there is no way by which we can do without the internet, and there is no way by which we can assume that somebody will allow this medium to go unhindered or unchecked, uncontested, so to say. Like anything else, any commons today, whether it is this cyber, whether it is the ocean, you see the way the pirates have become active, any commons are contested. So we'll have to see how we prepare ourselves to handle this.
The second last question.
Hello, sir. This is Abhishek from Mysore. My question is simple. What is a message from you to the youths? Every day you can see incidents, like you told me that India and, Pakistan and China winning without a fight. And you can see the rows, I mean, JNU and so many issues are going inside. So what would you like to share for the youths?
I would just go back to what John T. and Chris were saying on the other way, in the other session below this, and luckily I heard it because now I can quote from that. Let's focus on positive energy. Next one, please.
I'm going to move all the way at the back.
Good afternoon, sir. It was an absolute pleasure hearing you today. My question is, I'm sure politics has a big influence on the way even anti-terror operations take place. So do you see a big difference between the last government and this government? And is it positive, negative?
You know, if you permit, one of the slides which I said, where I had quoted the Corps Commander of Assam, when he says there is a political space for the government and the parties to function, public space for the people to do what they have to do, and a military space that enables the functioning of the other two spaces. And one big rule for us is, don't comment on the political space.
So unfortunately, we have crossed the time limit, but if you insist, we can maybe go for 1 or 2 questions.
I'm okay with 2, no problem.
You're okay with 2. Okay, this group, they've been slightly abusing me, so I will hand the mic over to them if you don't mind.
Sir, my name is Anushka De, and I have born and brought up in Assam. Sir, so I know the situation there. Thing is that even after the Alpha has been subdued, there have been other militant groups like NDFB and others who exploit the illiterate and uneducated people to and let them fight against India. So thing is that when will we see the thing which have happened in Kashmir taking place in Assam? Because truly, still now we cannot celebrate Independence Day properly. There are curfews and riots. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Anushka, I must also very proudly tell you that I belong to the Assam regiment. So we have a lot in common there, and I quite understand what you're saying. In Assam, what we are seeing now is actually literally the last mile. It is literally the last mile, and whatever you're alluding to is quite clearly what I had shown in my analysis, the degenerated form of an insurgency. To be honest, once the next round of elections are held and we have a new government in place, to my mind, we should be seeing some forward movement and moving away from the situation that you described.
Hello, sir. I'm Smita from Lucknow. Basically, I just wanted to ask you about the emphasis that the new government has on defense manufacturing and building a lot of the equipment for defense in India. What do you think is the role of component manufacturing in terms of the equipment that we are trying to source within India now?
Thank you. Because until now, I was answering questions from my previous job as the Corps Commander in Kashmir. Now you've pointed a question on the job which I'm doing now. And I must tell you why I was trying to get out of this one today, because we were really short of time because of the Deaf Expo, you must be aware, which is to start in Goa. And I have to leave for that early morning tomorrow. But Shauryaveer being what he is and Ridhima being what she is, they've made sure that I'm here. And it's because Ridhima had come and seen how we operate in Kashmir. So that's why she was insistent that I must be here. Anyway, getting back to your question. See, first of all, as far as Make in India is concerned, I'll give a little longish question because it's my current job. As far as Make in India is concerned, I think Army is the most suited. Why? Because we have many schemes. As we speak now, we have almost 150 schemes of procurement, and most of them, around 42%, are less than 150 crores. So there is tremendous opportunity for the MSME. And they do not require so much of technology, like for what you would need for an aircraft and all. Within the army, there are some air defense system, artillery systems, which require a little more. But that said, ours is relatively lesser. If you look at our the plans of modernization, we are looking at, of course, big ticket things like air defense, artillery, helicopters, and so on, which are complex systems, which give us the capability for conventional war. In the second lot, we are looking at things which are required to systems that support the bigger systems. And in the third category, we are looking at equipment, technology, to fight the kind of war that I just spoke about in this presentation, the current and ongoing conflict, so to say. Now, if you look at this entire scheme, even the big ticket ones in the bigger ones, quite clearly, they are an aggregate of many subsystems. Over the years, the kind of capability that our manufacturers have developed in the medium to small scale, they can quite easily contribute. In the third category, where technology is changing fast, innovations are very fast, actually it is only the MSME that can take it on. Why? Because bigger industries, they take their own time to take decisions. Smaller industries, decisions are that fast, people are ready to innovate, people are ready to experiment. So to my mind, there is tremendous potential for all the kind of industries that you talk about in Make in India. You're from Lucknow. I just got a text as I was coming in here from one Mr. Agarwal. He wants me to visit his, oh, you're from the same? There you are. He wants me to go and see the kind of metal which has come over there. So I'll certainly be going over there. Yeah, okay, thanks. If that is all, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for this very patient listening and listening to people in combat fatigues and also being so encouraging. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
A token of appreciation from the young Indians to you, General. We truly appreciate what the Indian Army does for each and every one of us.